Thank you, my brother. So here we are showing how different groups, Pan-African groups, can do work together, because we are using a platform which which belongs to our brothers in Conscientism study group. And Comrade Pigbin, he is the one who is leading in that, and we are really grateful for his presence here and their generosity in sharing this platform with us. I would like to call upon our Queen Ipele to sort of give a brief description of what Farmers of Thought is all about. We have 7 pillars under Farmers of Thought, and governance is one of them. So, my Queen, please do give us a brief description of what we are all about, and then I will introduce our speaker.
Humbled. Without wasting any time, welcome all, welcome one, welcome all. You are all welcome to Farmers of Thought. Farmers of Thought is a farm where we collectively come to farm our seeds. We come together as individuals to come and farm our seeds. We critique, we analyze. It's one platform that is very unpopular and uncommon for its conduct. What it's expected of all of us is to come and everybody share in their thoughts, critique and stand your ground, explain, so that we can filter and be able to kneel down the snare that is holding us. And everybody needs to stand their ground. Farmers of Thought, it's standing on 7 pillars, which is agriculture, land and mining, governance, education, innovation, technology, economics, spirituality, adventure, entertainment, and wellness and well-being. In the heart of it all, spirituality is in the center of everything. Farmers of Thought, it's focused more on African being restored and finding self. We've got what we call the thinking tool. That is a model we use to critique and analyze everything. Now, when we look into the thinking tool is made of the 4 cardinal points, what we call the 4 kingdoms, the northern, southern, eastern, and western. That's how we broke it. Western being America, northern being Europe, eastern being Asia, and southern being Africa. Now, it's very important that when one reasons, we become clear which perspective are we reasoning from, because every people have their way of doing things. But if we cluster, we end up being confused and mixing issues. And we look also into the 3 times. There's 3 states of time, which is the past, the present, and the future. What was before, what is now, and what shall be. And obviously, what was and what is now is informed by what was and what happened, and what shall be is informed by what it is now and where we want to be. So that is the tool that we use when we critique our engagement, or that is what we are anticipated to use to critique our engagement. Without wasting any time, let me just not take long and hand over to King Koko. And I wanted to greet our comrade from Conscientism. Yeah, I thought that I'll get time to greet him. So when I greeted Marina Sumatlana, it took too long. And I appreciate their engagement and their contribution in terms of our hosting of our meetings. And welcome to everyone. Shalom.
Thank you, my Queen. I recognize some of the colleagues from other groups. You are welcome to this meeting today. we are really honored that you are here with us today. We have Ndadesi Matlani. Ndadesi Matlani has been a friend of mine for a while, a brother, a mentor, someone I seek advice from. And now that we know we have a problem as Africans, and I know that Ndadesi Matlani has been through similar issues before, I asked him to come and deliver this, but unfortunately, I think he has left. Is he experiencing some issues? We'll find out. But long and short of it is that he has experience in conflict management. One of the things which he did and doesn't really discuss much about is that he led in the what was called the interim political authority discussions in Lesotho. Lesotho is a small country which is surrounded by a bigger South Africa where Queen Ipsy comes from. We did have our own political crisis in 1998, but that was resolved through an political party working group, which Ndadesi Matlani was called in to come and help when everything else wasn't working. And his conflict management skills will show tonight, hopefully, from the presentation that he will make. He is a teacher by profession, or he's from physical sciences by profession, and has also learned different things, and he is also a writer. I will also share in the chat while he's continuing to deliver his session all about his different fields. Welcome back, my brother. I can see, are you struggling for connection? Ndadesi Matlani, are you there? Are you struggling?
No, I'm not struggling. I was fiddling.
Okay. All right. That being said, are you able to present your screen then and continue?
I think so.
What I will do is I'll share your bio in the chat so members can see who you are, but you have the floor now to do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Let me put on what I want to share. But first, let me make a brief introduction. That what you're going to do is to look at a combination of two readiness models, because in my view, they complement each other. And then using those, we will also introduce, for those of us who may be needing that, I think it is important that we explain exactly what it is we are going to be doing. We are going to explain how we as human beings have been designed, in particular, our brains, because everything that we do, every behavior starts in our minds, and it is connected to the wiring in our brains. And so that we understand why we need to do certain things, I think it is useful that all of us are on the same plane about how our brains have been designed, in particular, with relevance to change. And therefore, in doing that, allow me then to share my screen. Do you have it?
We can see your screen, Daddy.
You can.
Yes, it has a desktop.
Struggling a little bit with playing slides now.
I can see them. It's just for you to drag them into where the desktop is.
Yes. What I want to do is to put them into
presentation mode. Okay.
Give me a few minutes because it's just disappeared. I don't know what happened here. While I deal with that, let me continue with the introduction. Human beings have been endowed with two broad emotions. The emotion for love and the emotion for fear. The problem here now. And
I think is to click on the full view.
Pardon?
If you click on the full view, then it will expand to occupy your desktop, which is on the right-hand corner with a box. It's a rectangle box, right-hand corner on your presentation slide. This slide, this one you have two slides on your two dialog boxes on your desktop.
Yes, sir.
So if you can, the top, the one on right, then that's right. Then click on that. Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Now, as I said, the human being has been endowed with two broad emotions, the emotion of fear and the emotion of love. And physically, there are two brain pathways. One that deals with fear. It is a short neural pathway that sends messages directly from the environment. It sends messages directly to the fear center. It's short. In the Bible, in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 to 14, Christ says that it's a gateway, and he says it is wide and attracts many, but leads to destruction. The love pathway, which he says is narrow and leads to life, physically in the brain, it is longer and meanders because it does not go straight directly to the fear center. It goes via the higher thinking brain for evaluation first. And when the brain, or you tell your brain that you have solutions or you look for solutions, only then does it send the message to the fear center to tell it to stop whatever action it was already initiating, because then you have solutions that you will implement. This knowledge is knowledge that colonizers / slave owners and slave drivers, apartheid, used to instill fear in us. When we receive a message of fear, it quickly goes through the fear brain pathway, the broader one or short one. Broad in terms of the Bible, short in terms of science, and goes directly to our primitive mind in readiness for protection. It stops, it makes the brain to secrete stress hormones that somehow narrow the longer pathway that goes to the higher thinking brain and opens up the short or wide pathway. When this brain pathway, the fear broad or short brain pathway, is used more regularly than the longer one, then we are habitually in fear, and our responses to whatever signal, whether it is a helpful signal or it is a threatening signal, it causes us to always be wanting to protect ourselves. And that is what knowledge the colonizers and slave owners used. When you instill fear in people, then they are always using this brain pathway. So when they enslaved us, when they colonized us, when they apartheided us, that is what happened. The pathway that leads to destruction becomes a default pathway. So we are always using that one.
Excuse
what
me.
does fear do to us? What does fear do to us? Because,
you're still sharing the readiness for change, the one that shows your bio. Is that the one we intended to share, or is there another one?
No, we are sharing that one. I said it is an introduction because you need this background information.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that we can understand what we need to be ready. I'm almost done with the introduction. So the things that you see, the genocides, the conflicts, the corruptions, all are thoughts and actions that we use because most of the time we'll be using that fear pathway. Now, the challenge for us now in getting ready for change, because we want to change from that type of thinking and behavior to thinking about unity, thinking about freedom, thinking about things that are life supportive. In order to change, to rewire the brain so that the love pathway becomes the default one, is what we are going to be looking at. So as I continue presenting, keep in mind that what we are trying to do, what we are doing here, is working to change from the fear pathway into the love pathway that leads to life. Okay. This is the first slide, and I'm showing you the first model. I said that I'll be using 2 models. In this model, what we need to do is, for getting ready to change, is to work on our structural issues, structures, physical things like economy, what have you, and the cultural aspect of ourselves and our societies. And we are going to be focusing on the psychological, the way our minds work. There are 2 layers to this. When we are ready, we need for us to be ready, we need commitment into the change process. We need commitment on the things that you are going to be changing, and in particular, things that you are going to be changing within ourselves. You will notice that most of the time when people talk about change, when people talk about decolonization, they are talking about economies, they are talking about agri, they are talking about all those many sorts of things. And they forget to talk about where everything starts, in the mind. The second one is, the second layer, is that we need a program that will be effective for doing this. A lot of programs that I have looked at will only make us believe that we are doing something. But once we do not attend to the psychological, then everything will be for naught. Actually, what we're going to be looking at is closing the gap between simply knowing principles, maybe of principles of freedom, principles of good governance, principles of leadership. Closing the gap between those principles and the actual enactment of the principles. Because most of the time, all we get from institutes and schools of leadership and governance, and even change, transformation, all that we ever get is the principles and not the skills and the capacity to enact them. The first stage is that of awareness. Being aware of what change is needed. Now, there's a picture of our brain. And as I said, when a message comes to us, the challenge is sent to a distributive center in the brain, which is called the hippocampus. And then this is our short or wide gateway that sends the message of fear to the primitive brain and to a quick reaction to save our lives in case there's a serious threat to our lives. And that is the current state that we are in now. And that is what it is choice whether we want to respond to challenges through fear or through love. Now, colonization and maybe repression, long-term repression, locked our brains, so to speak, to take messages through this shorter path. Now, what we want to do is to change from this route to the route that goes to the higher thinking brain. And that is done through love. The founder of the Basotho Nation was trained and given instructions and trained for them by his mentor. He said to him, know your people and love them. And love is very fundamental. That's the longer love pathway. Goes to the higher thinking brain, comes back to the fear center, instructs the fear center to stop the instruction it had given here of protecting ourselves quickly, and thinks up the solutions for the challenge. And then we respond. That is the future that we want. That is the future that we are looking for when we talk about African unity and freedom. It unlocks this long pathway that was locked by fear. And that incidentally also enables forgiveness, reconciliation, and unity. In other words, it enables the unity that we've been talking about. Our brain is also, our minds are divided into two. this part here for cognition, where we process our thinking, but it accounts for 10% of learning. And that is what another way in which long-term repression has suppressed us. That is what colonized education sustains. The other part of our brain, of our mind, is higher thinking. Higher thinking is where we do intentional thinking about how we think and about how we learn. And that is responsible for 90% or more of the work of our brain and our mind. And I think that, and that is where we want to go, because colonization, slavery, apartheid locked that capacity by fear causing the brain to produce stress hormones that block the channels to the higher thinking brain. What we want to do when we instill love, it will lead us to freedom. It is a program I will share with you later that I call building civil learning communities, which will lead us to decolonized education. And when we have unlocked this higher thinking brain, we are able to ask ourselves many questions about the challenges that we have and enable us to be able to respond in a life-supportive manner. Let's look at what it is that needs to be done for us to be ready. That is our brain. It is divided, as we said, into the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. We are looking at the subconscious mind, where our behavior is stored. It is based on our belief system, which is why colonizers had to brainwash us first so that they install a new belief system in us. That leads to new values, the Western values and the Western culture that we are mostly following now. Let's look at now what happens when our brain interacts with the environment. When it interacts with the environment, the message, as I said, gets routed into the brain, gets channeled either way, either the fear brain pathway or the love brain pathway. And then we form a perception or perceptions about the challenge. That perception will lead to the subconscious mind, to our genes, because everything that we do, everything that we learn gets written on the surface of our genes, which is the subject of epigenetics. Now, let's see what type of things we need to do. I've just made an example here, a parallel to a flower. For a flower to bear fruit, it needs bees. But bees, like us and like everything else, for it to be able to, for it to want to act in a given way, it needs relative priority incentives. For bees, that incentive is the nectar right at the bottom of the flower. And as it passes, that bee brushes against male pollen here. And as it goes deeper into the flower, it then contacts the female ovules and it deposits the male pollen. That's how then it fertilizes, and then we get the flower turns into fruit. Sorry. Back to our slide. That is when we attend to incentives of people we want to help to transform. And that is how we ourselves change and change our behavior. We change them because we have incentives for changing, because we see some priority things, benefits from changing. When we have attended to the subconscious mind like that and our thoughts, then we get intended outcomes. But otherwise, if we don't do that, we don't use the science, the epigenetics information that we've just looked at, if we do not use it and use just social sciences, what we get is now we are not thinking about how our thoughts are formed. And the result is we get unintended consequences. This is how even leaders who honestly want to deliver and develop their people and their nations, when they just use this social sciences knowledge and not the science we just looked at, they get this unexpected consequences. We're going back to the first slide. Right. What else do we need for our readiness? To consider that, I have attached the 7 stages of grief, because if we are going to, some people take it very lightly, if we are going to move away from the Western culture and habits that we have been so used to for a long time, then we are going to get a shock. We are going to deny that we need the type of change. A lot of people do not believe that being aggressive and violent is weakness. They think that it is power, and yet it is not. It is rooted in fear and panic. That's the initial stage when we get the news about having to change. You will realize that most of us who have been educated think that we've got everything together. We are okay. The knowledge that we got from our colonial education, we believe we can use it to outroot colonialism. The next stage in this grief cycle or grief stages is that it becomes very painful when you learn that you need not to look down upon other people, when you learn that you need to build relations even with people who colonialism have made us believe that they are inferior. And we may start feeling guilty that we actually are or have been whitewashed and indoctrinated. When we realize that, no, actually it is very true, then we get angry with the knowledge, and we start wanting to bargain that we can change by changing laws, by doing that and that. And we have seen that that is structural and may not work. Most of the time it will not work. When the anger and the bargaining does not work, we get depressed. And then we may reflect and feel very lonely. And we are going to look at how then to deal with this. This is the time when we may start thinking about possibilities of changing. Is it not better to change? And when we have done that, we start reconstructing, thinking through how maybe life will be without the comforts of colonialism, the comforts of apartheid. Then we start accepting and having some hope. What will help us in this situation? Let me give two examples. For instance, I talked about the Basotho nation because that's the closest that I know. The founder of this nation was a person who was in this stage, because we are told he was very good with a spear, and his colleagues even chose him to be their leader. And he had a dream, a vision. He wanted to be a powerful leader of a strong nation. And when he told his grandfather about this dream of his, the grandfather advised him that no, not in the way that you are. The way that you are requires of you to go and get healed and trained and counseled into using more of the love pathway than the fear pathway, because fear is actually weakness, even though many people believe that fear and violence and anger is macho and is powerful. Hawkins, in his book, Power versus Force, says, he observes that power or love achieves with ease what fear, even with extreme effort, cannot. So that, realizing that is an example that shows that we can help ourselves to have visions and put emotion into them. When people have visions, it makes it easier for them to achieve the things that we want. A near example, maybe for those of us who watch rugby or those who are near Southern Africa. The South African team, rugby team, is the first to win the Rugby World Cup 4 times. Now, the captain, Siya Kolisi, a black South African, had a dream from 1999 when the captain of the team then had a chat with him. The team had visited his school. And then he says, then he knew that what he wanted was rugby and to be a captain. What way is? So we need to get people ready. We need to give them examples like those so that they can be able to see that it is possible. Next, we are working to help people to accept and support the change, but in particular, to enact the changes within them, because almost all of us want to support changes elsewhere, changes outside us, changes with other people, changes with our current leaders, changes with laws and things like this. But the change that we need is to change ourselves. We need to have clarity of the approach and significance, understand the significance of having to repeat things. A lot of people, even in our groups, want very short presentations. They should be done quickly and they should not be repeated because it undermines the intelligence. But everything that we learn, every skill that we learn, for it to hold and become a habit, we have to repeat it. And this we cannot avoid. We have also to look at the capacity of the people who have to change, look at our own capacities. what do we need in order to be able to change? We also have people need to know what it is that is going to be changed. Which is why I started with those slides that show what happens inside our brains, so that we know that it is that deep work that has to be done. We have also to look at the extent of the essential interventions. The intervention, or this awareness intervention that I'm giving here, would need to be toned down somehow when you deal with other people of other levels of knowledge. To do that, we use a program that I call the Holistic Integrated Experiential Learning Approach, where I have put together a number of methods, tools, and processes that have been used elsewhere to help us to deal with this kind of work. To be able to do that, this is the model, the Holistic Integrated Learning Approach. I'm not going to take long on it, but we need to unlearn the things that we learned from our brainwashing and indoctrination, and relearn new things. But it stretches. Yes, we have to appreciate that we need to stretch our own thinking. But we have to plan first what we are going to be doing. We have to know the things that we need to know first, as already shown you the slides. But we also have to learn together and journey together. A lot of people thrive with individual efforts, but that takes you some way. If you want to go to the highest level of freedom, of unity, we need to learn together and to journey together. When we've done that, we need to learn how to do things together. And I want to emphasize this, how to do things. Because researchers found that, for instance, in leadership development and training, people learn about the principles, as I said earlier, but then when they go back to their workplaces, they only apply 1% of what they have learned, a waste of a lot of money. So we see leaders in positions who we believe and hope will be meaningful for us and helpful, and yet they are not able to apply the knowledge that they have. The Stanford University says that out of 100 people who have learned a principle, only 5% are able to apply it. In other words, 95% of people who have learned a principle, even though they may understand it, they may agree with it, they are not able to apply it because of the blockage in those pathways. We need to have time of contemplation, silence, praying, reflection, and repetition to internalize the transferring of the lessons learned. That is praying all the time. Some people pray only on Sunday. Some people pray only when they want something. Once they get it, they forget that they still need to pray. Okay. And next, what we do is to build, these are the civil learning communities. Civil learning communities are the foundation and building blocks of the type of peace you are looking for. What somebody calls quality peace, because the unity of us as Africans and the freedom will only come when we have quality peace, not just peace. How do you build civil learning communities? Civil learning communities is a group. The civil learning community is a group of individuals, fearless individuals, who become leaders, who consciously behave ethically towards a higher power. A higher power that has more knowledge, is more objective and caring. In civil learning communities, members learn to learn together. They learn to learn together, to think, we've already said that, think about their own thinking and their own learning, how to do that, and grow in order to change. For them, in order to change or transform, then they will be able to transform themselves and also take care of transforming the context or the environment. In these civil learning communities, members learn how to communicate honestly. They learn to build relations that are deeper than the usual masks of composure, where we will be smiling, showing our teeth, but not meaning it. Members of a civil learning community have developed a significant commitment to rejoicing together, mourning together, and delighting in each other. Members of civil learning communities make conditions of others their own. We said that these members also become effective, ethical, and servant leaders. They only give lots of positive energy, no destructive energy, from sources they do not know that they had. They do things that they also did not know they had the capability to do. The things that they do have results that surpass even the usual teams that we do a lot of popular team building activities with. Civil learning, building a civil learning community is much more powerful than team building. And in their dialogues, they use systems that originate in Africa. This is the arrangement in an open space technology, copied from various African cultures, where there is equality, where there is equal opportunity. Civil learning communities, as I said, are foundations and building blocks for quality peace. What is quality peace? Quality peace is peace where all the factors that promote the promotion of good life conditions and quality of life for all members of the society are attended to. Quality peace is peace with components of dignity, where the diversity of citizens is valued. They are given equal opportunities and supported to excel. They are given equal opportunities to participate. It is peace where safety and hope are ensured, are guaranteed, they are worked for. Hope and confidence of citizens, self-confidence of citizens, and also where citizens have confidence in the environment they live in. That also includes citizens' trustworthiness and trust among themselves, and trust for leaders that are with, and also trust for their governments. Finally, quality peace is peace where citizens and people are free from want and free from want and fear. We are getting to the end now. Oh, this is the way, these processes, this is the way that the slide is not showing here, is hidden by this diagram here. I wasn't aware that when we share the screen, it would do that. But this is the way the program for building readiness for change, readiness for transformation that leads us into being able to build unity, into being able to achieve this type of peace that we are talking about. This will be the end. I'll not be able to show the last slide, but which is really a summary of the work we have done. This is helps us to get ready for unity, egalitarian unity, and the peace that is evading the world and evading our own continent. And these are the processes that we will need if we are serious about our unity and serious about our freedom. Thank you very much. Ntate Koko.
My brother, I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
Are we together, sir?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yeah, but the voice is low.
Really? Does anyone else not hear me?
No, I'm hearing you, but the voice is rather low.
Really?
But I'm hearing.
Okay. Can we please unmute ourselves and give him a round of applause? It's a very complex topic that he has approached, but I think we are onto something. Please.
A very, 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 very loud one. Wow, what a presentation. Much appreciation.
A man after my own heart. I totally believe in all the things that you've said. As an educationalist.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It gives hope. It gives hope.
Excellent. Dade Mafule. Lots of my colleagues or fellow Africans in other groups, they are always eager to build a military to be feared in Africa. But you are coming here and saying we need to build quality peace. How is that quality peace going to help us if we were to face another fearsome foe from abroad, especially knowing what we went through with colonialism?
One of the things that maybe I did not quite, or I did not emphasize sufficiently, is what capacity then people have when they have built themselves into a civil learning community.
Mm-hmm.
When they have built themselves into a civil learning community, they become more intelligent. Their intelligence increases. They become very eager to learn, and they learn more easily because they actually draw their intelligence and their capacity now from the universe. And when we build ourselves into those learning communities, then the answers to your question come easily to people who are becoming members of civil learning community, because it unlocks the brain, it unlocks the high quality, rather high achievement potential. So once we are on the path of healing and through becoming, building ourselves into civil learning communities, then the answers, the solutions come very easily. And in those, remember I talked about, I showed a picture of open space technology,
Mm-hmm.
where people originally in Africa would sit under a tree, a bamboo tree, in a circle. And even though there will be a leader who's facilitating, his work will be very minimal because he just introduces the process and keeps guiding here and there, but all the work is done by the members. So let's look at what is happening now. With the type of conflicts that we have even within our own nations, would we be able to build a loyal army without conflicts with other groups or within itself? So what more with wanting to build one African army? Look at the support that is being given to South Africa in its case against Israel. Do you see possibilities of Africans uniting easily? I'm not saying the possibilities are not there, but do we see the possibility of them uniting easily?
We will have done that already.
Pardon?
We will have done that already.
We should do that. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying for us to have that unified army, competent, with inner drive, we should go through those processes that open up the longer brain pathway, that opens up that gateway that Christ says leads to life. So it's work. Think about the processes that the Europeans went through, just in terms of time. How long was the Berlin Conference?
1884, 140 years ago now.
How long was it? How long was the conference?
Or
How
about
long did it?
months?
It's 1884 to 1885.
About 5 months.
How does that compare to our 1.5 to 2 hours session now that comes after many months? How do they compare? So we need a lot of work. There's a lot of work that is needed. Even though we need to be patient, because realize I said that fear makes people not want to work together for their own good. They tend to want to respect, even though now we are showing that no, we've had enough. We've had enough of colonial power. We want to change. But when we want to change, we want to take shortcuts. This is where the big problem is. We want quickies, 10-minute sessions.
Okay. I can see there's another hand up, but before I go to that hand, I have a question. So if Africans were sort of practicing higher civil learning, they had quality peace before the colonialists came. So what happened? Do you know what happened? Why did we lose what we had before? So I guess I'm trying to preempt the situation where we have obtained those civil learning communities or the quality piece, and it all falls apart.
I think we need to be honest with ourselves if we want to get sustainable outcomes. We said fear is the root cause of resistance to change, the root cause of conflicts. We were already fighting amongst ourselves here, even before the colonialists came. We are aware. Fighting over land, fighting over animals. The example that I gave about our own founder, Mushweshwe, is one of somebody and people who came out of conflicts. Mushweshwe was a warrior himself. He was very aggressive. And he built a nation out of fugitives because there were wars and fights. They started fighting right from where we are told we came from. As they traveled, for instance, those of us who came south here, as we traveled, we met with a lot of dangers. Wild animals killing and eating our own brothers. And we were just watching because we couldn't do much. That affected our psyche. And we became fearful, angry, hatred. This is why Mushweshwe had to go and be trained and be healed. That is what we need ourselves. But over and above that, the colonialists themselves came here and forced things onto us, locked our brains and minds. And so Mushweshwe's brain and mind was unlocked by his mentor, Mushweshwe. That is what we need ourselves. For instance, Basotho are busy now. They say they want to recover or reinstate Mushweshwe or Mushweshwe's ways of living. If they should want to do that, then they should go back to the processes that Mushweshwe was taken through. When our African society and nations want to heal and build relationships, then they should try to minimize, because you still need fear. You need fear to be able to protect yourselves from dangers. But you need to be able to unlock and open the love brain pathway.
Okay.
It's not different. It's not new now. It's just that now we are being conscious about it. And fortunately for us who are in Lesotho or who are Basotho, know that there was a way in history that worked. And I have used some of those ways elsewhere. I've used them when I used them after our 1998 political uprisings here, when the body that was charged with reconciliation and unity was failing to be able to do that for close to a year of its establishment.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yes, colonization, when we say that slavery did something to us and colonization and apartheid, this is what we are talking about. And let me show you, if we read the book, Let's Make a Slave, Making a Slave,
Mm-hmm.
Willie Lynch was training his colleagues, slave owners,
Mm-hmm.
train obedient slaves. He said to them, after you torture them like this, after you train them like this, they will respect you, they will obey you, but they will fight amongst themselves. They'll fight amongst each other. And later, in 1999, when the book was published, they said, him and those people, his followers, said, the unfortunate thing about Black people, that is what they're talking about because they're talking about slavery, is that they have even allowed us to educate their children. So even the day their children want to liberate themselves, they will take at least 50 years to be able to do that, because they will resist. They will resist to go through the processes that are necessary.
Thank you. Honor, do you want to come on board and ask our guest the question, please?
Yeah. Okay, good evening, everybody, and thanks to Dr. Simetlani for his wonderful presentation. I just want to find out if this model, can it be broken into, should I say, into pieces or into modules for in terms of application, so that it can be easier applied, or is it not possible to break it into applicable, let me say, stages also? And then my second question is, how do we use the model to build Boto, to build Ubuntu, humanity? Because if we go for civil learning, it means we all have almost the same understanding of what we want to achieve, and also how should we relate to other people. I don't know whether I'm clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It is possible to break it into modules, and however, maybe the modules we are used to, this is what maybe you are asking about. Remember I talked about that holistic, integrated, experiential learning approach.
Yes.
Building, yes, which I said that the foundation and building blocks was building civil learning communities. The process can be done in 3-4 days, building civil learning communities. And then it will need maintenance, because after those 3-4 days, there will be transformation. Then it needs maintenance. But the challenge is, we need, or maybe I need, to develop new facilitators. And that may take a bit of time. That is where we may now need to break it into modules, but modules of maintenance.
Yes.
And that is possible, that can be done. I think I was thinking 2-3 years, maybe 1-2 years, people who go through the training may be ready to pass on the processes. And yeah, so we can just keep repeating, because repetition is what helps people to internalize learning. And can you remind me the second question, please?
Yeah, my second question is building relationship, Ubuntu contributions towards Boto, values of Boto.
Actually, I'm going to share with the chairperson an updated paper on this presentation so that he can share it with you. Building civil learning communities unlocks one, Boto or Ubuntu. It unlocks that capacity because let's realize Ubuntu is about love, about respecting each other. It's about relating well. It's about supporting each other. And what we are saying is the program opens up the pathways that lead to those type of things. Because the long-term repressions locked up that pathway that enabled us to leave Ubuntu, to leave Boto. It actually unlocks that capacity to get that natural capacity, because we evolved to be social beings. We need to live together. We need to support each other. And the only way is by practicing those principles of Boto or Ubuntu. So when you build civil learning communities, you are actually reviving or building Ubuntu.
Okay, sure. Thank you. That is Mekane.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Okay, hello.
Daddy. Chairperson. Now there's nobody to connect.
Oh, sorry, I'm here. I'm muted. Okay. Ipsy, is your turn. You have the floor, my sister.
Okay, I'm humbled. First and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to thank you once more I appreciate how you broke down your presentation and how you nailed everything to point, I think my question is just seeking clarity. Is it possible that we unite if we are not clear of our vision, mission, or maybe of our culture, or our practice? And also, I'm gonna have few questions, but I think they all relate to same thing. And then can we get anywhere if you want to satisfy everyone? In terms of building, is there any solid foundation that we can lay if we want to impress anyone? And then if I come into this one, I need you to visualize it in this form. I come into your house, you've got the way things are done in your house. Now, if I come into your home, what should be done? Do I have to come in and start doing what I want to do, or how should we go about it? And if I choose to ignore the culture of your home, Will I find peace there? And what would you do if I choose to ignore everything that your lifestyle is about and want to impose what is mine? Like, I want to come into your home. I don't want to understand what you're on about. Then I just want to come, and it's about me and me, how I want to do, how I want things to be done. You know, how do you handle such situation? Especially when you're working on laying a foundation and building a unity. How do we handle that?
Okay. One, scientists have found out that there is what they call the critical mass. They have discovered what they call the tipping point. And that tipping point is found somewhere around 10%. A few days ago, somebody was saying 1%, because his argument was that the people who are suppressing the world are only 1%, less than 1% of the global population. So it is possible, if we work hard enough, that in a few years we reach the tipping point. But even before that, we are able to have an impact, because we need a lot of strategies, what I would call an enfilade attack from many sides, to use many media channels or communication channels to get everybody conscious about the need for this change. And so nobody has to get into somebody else's house. When we are building these civil learning communities, we will be building our house, not getting into somebody's house. And so I think maybe the pertinent question that you ask about entering somebody's house and wanting to change their culture, we need to find ways of developing our own culture. Some people think that there is some African way that things used to happen. No, I don't think that is true. You need to be shown that we need to develop, and that open space technology, the way we used to meet and dialogue, is a way that would lead us into developing such an inclusive culture. You asked about visions and things. And remember what I said about the founder of the Basotho Nation, and about the captain of the South African rugby team, that they had a vision. They had a vision, not I wish, no, something that is close to their heart, something that, and I talked about incentives. We need proper processes for developing, for envisioning, which are transformative, which transform the one who envisions. And once that happens, then there'll be commitment to whatever change we want. And again, as I said, once we use multi-communication channels, then the process and the culture will get inhaled, if one should say, by almost everybody, almost daily. There's an example that I liked years ago, when South Africa became independent. When South Africa became independent, on their media, they immediately started an advert, Simonye, we are one, which was repeated over and over for sometimes maybe close to a year, but then they stopped. And my suspicion is that they did not have a program for enacting simony. And we still need that simony. We are one. We still need it, but it needs programs that move us towards being one. I am not sure that I did justice to.
I think you partially responded to, remember what I said. Okay, let me clarify what I spoke of coming into your house. Remember what I spoke of laying the foundation? It's your community. You've got a way that you do things. I find everything being established in there. That's how you live. But I think the part that you didn't touch on is when I come in, I find you guys, the way you're living, you've got a way that you do things. You've got where you want to go. You do things in a particular way so that it gets you there. And then I choose to avoid the culture that is there already.
Conflict right away. Conflict.
That's what I wished you to focus on. I come into that's what I wanted to actually highlight when I say I come into your house, I find a particular culture. I don't even learn what it is about. I'm not even interested in it, but I just want to come and tell what I want things to be. And then how do you handle that? And will I find people?
Can I just, before you answer that, is Metlana, can I maybe try to add something to Ipso? That in other words, I come into your house, I cause a conflict situation, but now, as I don't want to take anything from you, I exercise my power over you to maybe even to do things my way. I don't even establish a relationship. It's simply power, no relationship, and no shared values. And I want to impose my values onto you. Is that how I understand you, Ipso?
It's not even imposing. It's just being ignorant and then just carrying on. Like I'm running my own program, and then your community doing something. You focused on this, but it's like I want to shift the focus somehow. It's like when you are in a farm, you grow vegetation and then there rise wheat. You know, just that distraction.
That is.
But I think it was covered that conflict right away because they won't do mutual understanding. And then I think the other one that I just wanted to touch I wish you to touch on. It's that one that when I said that can we get somewhere really? Can we build any unity when we are not clear? What do we want? You know, if we don't have mutual comprehension, if you want to go to East London and I want to go to Australia, you know, can we really plan our use the same itinerary?
Yes, you can. You can. Remember, I talked about the open space technology. In the open space technology, people come there, participants come into the open space technology, not carrying some solution under their head. They come there open-minded, but of course, even when people are open-minded, they still have some ideas themselves. The open space technology, which is of African origin, helps you to be able to come up with ideas. It also enables you to be able to build what is called meta consensus. You see, we are so used to consensus that people run into problems because they start talking about compromises and things. Whereas when you strive for meta consensus, you bring all your ideas together, and as you bring them together, each one of us is already thinking about how does Ipsis idea fertilize my idea? How can we bring them together? And these are processes that we need to deal with. But one of the key things that I see is the process of envisioning. I talked about it. We've got to go through those processes of envisioning so that people become clear about where they want to go. Because if I'm not clear where I'm going, how can I be clear about where you want to go, other than to want to criticize whatever you raise? So it is processes, yes, and that building civil learning communities takes account of that. It takes care of that because it is people who have not a common vision. The process has been used also to help people in serious conflict. For instance, employers versus workers. And they do come together, and no shooting after that, no fighting after that. So there are processes that can be used to bring people of diverse interests together, to see how they can be brought together, to synergize and come up with higher level solutions.
Thank
No,
you.
I think the last one, if you can just touch again on the spirituality, you just slightly touch on it, but I liked what you said. When you spoke about the civil community, they become more. I won't quote you word by word. They become more spiritually inclined. They get more wisdom, and they align more with the universe, and they allow the universe to guide them. They are model of fighting. And actually my question is, how do you perceive the current war or struggle that the sons and daughters of melanin are facing, and what model do you think, based on your analysis, do you think will be suitable for them? Do you think we still need to shed blood, or do we need to walk away and focus on building ourselves?
One of the challenges I've seen about many advocates or facilitators, including myself for some time, I don't know whether I've fully changed. I'm still on my way. But communication is very important and sensitive. One of the major problems that I see is that when somebody communicates an idea to other people, if they don't catch it, then there's something wrong with them. Not with me, who's communicating, who has to look at what it is that I said or I communicated that could have yielded the type of response I get. Where do I need to improve? And this is one of the things I'm learning day in, day out. If something goes wrong, I want to find out, what did I not do right? Let me check how would somebody respond to it. So we need, among others, to learn all of those many skills, including communication, including owning up, including be able to reflect, be able to self-introspect. It's a process that evolves gradually as people immerse into this process.
Thank you. Thank you, that is Matlani. I see your hand is up. Marie, please come on board. Welcome.
Sorry. Yes, I'm going to try and sort of be really quick. You see, the problem is, right, whilst we're busy arguing amongst ourselves, others are actually either overtaking us, overtaking our systems, or replicating them and forcing us to adopt corrupt versions of what was originally ours. If you, I'm in education, right, from basic right through to postgrad. I'm no longer as active, but one of the things that I've noticed, right, in reading books, doing research, teaching, etc., is that everything these people say are theirs would have emanated from Africa, right? From socialism to even democracy, communism, you name it. You know, the education system, now they've got this thing about holistic education, because I'm an inspector, right? And when I go into schools and colleges, etc., I need to go back to the board and say, yes, they're doing holistic education, yeah, that they're not doing things in isolation, right? That they can have one assignment that ticks 12 boxes from different units, etc. And I recognize that to be the 360-degree system, ancient system, traditional system that, you know, we've been using for centuries and probably aeons. Because when you get an African person, a Black person, and you give them a job, right? They do it to the best of their ability, and they do it all rounding. Yeah, things have to connect. That's why when we go into fields that we're committed to, right, we come out excellent, whether it's science, sports, etc., etc. Yeah. So I think one of the first things, as the doctor says, to change is that commitment to change. Right now, I'm gonna shut down in a minute. I'm aware of lots of protocols and, you know, plans and things like that, you know, circulating within, you know, our movement, etc. And I'd really love to see, you know, a coalescing of all these great minds to actually come up with, you know, the plan, the template that we're talking about. I know the Global African Community, Global African Congress, right, have got a very comprehensive set of protocols, but I'm also aware of other things by other, you know, other groups, etc. So I think it's really, really possible, because we feed the world, we educate the world, we enrich the world in terms of anyone who goes to Africa comes out a superpower, etc. Why are we not doing it for ourselves? Yeah. And that's it. Ubuntu notwithstanding. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It doesn't need a response, does it? Just to confirm that, yes, that is the situation. But maybe one would add that what it means is we need to progress ourselves. We need to grow. We need to find ways of ensuring that the work that we do can be preserved and conserved as our work, and not taken by somebody to go and maybe corrupt it or pretend that they know more about it. So there's still a lot of work to be done that we ourselves need to do on ourselves.
Yeah, totally agree. One last point. I put something up about this, the Saudi 2030 agenda. I taught very briefly in Saudi, and I was, you know, I was employed there as, you know, an educational worker. And I was shocked to learn, having researched the agenda, that all this was towards the Arabs actually establishing themselves economically in the mouth of Africa. Yeah. And they were training their school kids. They were, you know, they were training, you know, vocational workers, you name it, they were doing it. You know, they were overhauling, etc., etc. Now, whilst people are doing that, and it's not only Saudi who are doing that, whilst people are doing that, what's Africa doing? Apart from recently, okay, I mean, what's Africa doing? And 2030 is just around the corner.
That's what we need to be doing. I think we need to come together more and be able to, if there's something good from somewhere, adapt it and work on improving on it. But we've got to learn to value and to protect our own copyrights, even though there's a big problem. I think I'm divided when it comes to such things. Once I've thought an idea, and for me, any idea that occurs to my mind is an idea from the universe. The more I think of it, the more I think about it, the more it gets dispersed within the collective conscious. And so look at, for instance, even though it's got also disadvantages, look at the way I made my presentation. My presentations are like that. And if there are any people who can just take those slides and be able to use them as I do or better than me, I'll be wondering. We need to find ways of ensuring that the things that we know get internalized. And you are saying the Saudis were even training their children.
Yeah, they get the best teachers because it's really difficult. I mean, I'm a Black person from overseas, right? It's really difficult for Black people or anybody to be employed, in a university or whatever, because their requirements are quite taxing, right? So basically, whilst they're planning to take over Africa, what are Africans doing? It's not about replicating their systems, but it's about putting counteractive measures so people don't even entertain that path.
And I think we have to learn from such experiences and share them and maybe able to improvise or even improve on them. It is very important to start teaching children from even before they are born, to start helping them so that they are able to think much better than we are able to think now.
Can I speak?
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes, brother. Go ahead. It's your turn. Ipsy, you will be chairing from now onward. Okay.
Actually, I think can we just wrap up? I think my brother will be the last. I think it's at diplomat. After him, I think he'll be the last. That will be the last hand, because I think what has been presented doesn't need long discussion. It just needs everybody to go and meditate on, and the recording will be availed. I'm humbled.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue, sir. Continue.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to make a quick comment. I'm familiar with Dr. Mafoli. I was part of a group before, and he's quite eloquent, and the ideas that he's proposing are very timely, and they also are very important to us. However, I just wanted to interject one thing. The lady that was talking about what are the Africans doing right now as other groups are progressing and making strides in all kinds of areas, is that we can absolutely do what Dr. Mafoli is suggesting, but we can't do it in isolation. I come from a military background, and I believe in the warrior diplomat type of mentality, and I also subscribe to realpolitik mindset. As Africans, and with our current state that we're in right now, we have to be able to operate in different frames of thought simultaneously to protect ourselves, and also to give ourselves the space to be able to develop the type of mentality that Dr. Mafoli is suggesting, because we won't be able to just sit and create these structures without adversity. our enemies don't want us to rise, and they're not going to give us the space without interference to develop like that. So we have to be able to do things simultaneously. And my thought process is that we need to convene specialists from different areas to be able to do that. You know, people that have a background like mine, that, you know, kind of like maybe like how you envision the French Foreign Legion. They take people from all over the world and they blend them together into a harmonious unit. We need to be able to do something similar within Africa, and also being able to look at what is working, which countries have systems in place that are already up and running and effective. And one country in particular that I suggest you guys think about is if you look at what's going on in Rwanda under President Paul Kagame. That country has literally transformed from ashes into something that's actually doing very well in many respects. Is it perfect? No. But is it working for the Rwandan people in many ways? Absolutely. So I just wanted to put that out there so you guys can, you know, kind of consider that. And if you think, you know, what I'm saying has any merit, that's all.
Humbled. Can I ask that diplomat Ndangire? I think he was hijacked. I thought it was him, but I'm humbled by your input. I believe it's noted. Can diplomat Ndangire come in? Did you want to add something to that? Because I wanted to add that diplomat Ndangire, because his hand has been up for long, so that he comes in, and I think maybe I can give again over to I forgot his name. Morano, he said his name. Honor V and E, and then we are done. Then I think you wrap up and close from that.
I'm okay, myself, to thank Dade Michael.
Okay. Can I give diplomat Ndangire, over to you?
Okay. Let me take this opportunity to thank the administrator of this session, all those who spoke before me. It's so great. I'm speaking as Mr. Ndagire K. Frederick, the chairman, Young Pan-African Association, the association that is looking at inspiring the uninspired Africans to justify Africanism. And we are in the struggle, and I'm so privileged to be part of this session. Mine goes to a facilitator that we are talking about a continent that has been ideologically manipulated. That when you go to Africa, all the ideologies that we are following are not from Africa. When we go to education, the education system won't be bad as such, but all the education systems that we are following in Africa are not looking at anything like Africa. So ideologically, we are out of the system. You are talking of a continent where the democracies or the format of leadership is out of system. Actually, when you go to Africa, like when I talk about many countries in Africa, we do not have what we call democracy or a favoring ground to develop. We, the African, develop ourselves. One, we have gotten regimes in Africa. I will talk about the Mubarak regime in Egypt. Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, I think we follow him, King.
Okay, so I'm saying we are living in a continent where ideologically we are out of the system. And I think even democratically, democracy in Africa is still a dream. In Africa, we're only having administrators, not presidents. People who are in Africa just governing according to their will, no constitutional rule. There is no division of power to the other agencies of government. And that's the system we are in. That it doesn't favor our work of unity. So I'm asking the administrator, what are those new ideologies that you have so far invented that you can sell to Africans to change the way of life? Because we have been controlled ideologically, and if we want to change Africa, then we must come up with new ideologies to change Africa. And as I say, if it goes to leadership, then we are either following the communism or we're following capitalism ideologies, but there's no any ideology of governance that we are following as Africans. When we go to education system, we are either following works of Plato, Socrates, but we do not have any books that sells the ideology or the ideas of the African mind. So let me send my question to Coco. What are those ideologies in this modern era that we should use to contend the already existing ideologies, both in education and in leadership system? So thanks. I remain as Mr. Ndagir K. Frederick, the chairman, Young Pan-Africanism, speaking from East Africa, Uganda. So thanks.
Can I ask you, Ntate Smatlani, to come in on behalf of Ntate Gogo?
Thank you. But I think what the diplomat has just said is what we need to be doing. We need to do that so that we can, and as I said earlier, we need to find ways of dialoguing. For instance, I'll give an example again of the founder of the Basotho Nation. A professor, Ilongo, has written a book titled Afro-Symbiosity, where he says that he would recommend that African nations and African leaders should adopt our founders' way of dealing with conflicts, and that would help them a lot. And I think they need to be documented again like that, but we, even as we sit together here and talk and dialogue, we need now to start developing what will be ours. As I said earlier, I don't see any culture that you would call African culture, because we are different, they're different. But we need to work on what will be helpful to us, what will give us the results that we want, and document those and be able to disseminate them, and also be able to disseminate them down generations, and they will keep adding and improving on whatever little bit we would have done.
I'd like to also come in here. I've been trying to raise my hand. I don't think the system is helping me enough. So can I?
Oh, okay, King. Okay, can you quickly come in there? I don't know. Yeah, can you quickly?
I've been trying, but okay. So there are two things. There are two things I want. Like the doctor said, repetition is one of the best teachers. So I would wish that presentation is shared with us, and then we can go over it, and some of us can go over it and over it again and again. That will master us in the delivery. And then, of course, what he was talking about, to get some more facilitators. So training of trainers could be one of the ways of sharing this knowledge, which is very important, is key. If you look at the community engagement platform that he talked about, it is one of the ways that we can change the African mindset to the long run. Then the second one is Africa is not moving because we've been panel beaten and so structured psychologically that we do not have to be together, get together. The moment they see us getting together, they put the sledgehammer in between us. And we have also grown to like the fact that we are separate and doing our thing and be called that somebody popping up here and there, but we are few. So the important thing is that unity is key. And we want to have to get together. We must get together from the community level, change mindsets, introduce the African traditional education concept. Those are the ways and means by which we can change the narrative and move to the next level. Thank you very much.
Humble.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Ken.
You want to comment, Tate Mafole?
No, I just thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you. King, Morena, let me give you, just to be brief, and then I'll be saying what I'm saying, and then I'll be giving over to Tate Mafole to close up. Tate Mafole, just remember you promised to share something about some concept you have, but I would love to believe to agree a lot with King Ken, what he just presented, that I believe that whatever that has been said today, to be quite honest, I feel that we really need to go back, meditate on, and then listen to the recording, and then we'll have another session again for a follow-up.
Oh yeah, what I would request is that immediately after this session, just send us those slides to our WhatsApp numbers or emails that we've got. And I just wanted to establish if this Metlana has published any book around the topics that he presented today. I'm quite anxious to follow through again. Thank you, and thanks for a beautiful presentation.
Humbled. Dr. Smetlana, as he wraps up, he'll respond to that. We'll post the presentation on the group, and then to avoid giving him a lot of work to try and reach out to everyone, we'll post it on the group, and then everyone will reach it. I think that will be the right way. Thank you very much, Dr. Smetlana. I'm thankful, King. I think I can give over to you to wrap up.
Okay.
To summarize it, we've reached our closure. I hope that I'm not closing anyone out. I'm just being considerate that the brain will focus for a particular time and it gets exhausted. And then especially after this detailed and straight and forward presentation, all we need everybody is just to go and reflect, and yeah, and then a follow-up session definitely should follow. Thank you.
Let me thank all my colleagues who were able to participate in the presentation. I'm very grateful. It's helped me to get more insights, because every time you talk with other people and they give feedback, you get new insights. And so about the document I promised to share, give me a few days. I think I want to reflect on the presentation and the responses, and then maybe I will be able to add a few things to the presentation as I had done it. And no, I don't think that there's much that I need to say, except that we need to seriously think about looking at the way we think and transforming it. In another group where I participate, an international group like this one, when I talked about awakening, somebody said, no, they don't need any awakening, they are awake themselves. And I was so taken aback. I'm on my way to awakening myself. There are lots of things that I discover from day to day that I need to wake up in. So let's not fear to be not knowledgeable in some things. Let's not fear to be weak, because we can only improve and strengthen ourselves when we are aware and acknowledge our weaknesses. But thank you very much. And Yeah, I think I also look forward to that other set, and people will have reflected, I believe. But thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity because you also learn as you present, as you say things, you start reflecting. Did I say the right thing? Is it not? Does it not have limitations? What I've just said.
No, I'm greatly humbled, King. Much appreciation to you for your time, for being here. We've reached the end of our engagement. Thank you very much for your time, for your commitment, for your contributions and everything. We will have a follow-up session. We will schedule and identify. I think maybe that your next topic should be awakening, eh? This big wave has caused a lot of havoc havoc in the community, the black men's communities. So I think that will be your next question, your next presentation. So we will have more of sessions with Ntate Mafole, and we see how we go about everything. Indeed, we need to boil everything down from us and I. There's a huge difference between us. There's no one standard class, that Africanism identity. No, there's African, but identity, it goes down to clans, to kingdoms, to individuals, and so on and so forth. That is why on Farmers of Thought, the focus is that every individual is to find self. When you have found yourself, then you are able to identify yourself, and we know as we filter, where do you fall within? Do you fall within this, or do you fall within that? If you do not know where you are, as it says, it's either you are cold or hot. When you are lukewarm, you'll be spit out. So as we're trying to find ourselves and balance and re-establish or be restored, it's very important for everyone to find self, and everything starts with self. Thank you very much. Till we meet again next time. On the group, we'll be posting the presentation, and perhaps we'll even have some maybe more engagement on such, maybe some minor programs. Greatly humbled. Much appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you in the group.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Oh, the conscientism class. Much appreciation once more. Well, much appreciation for the Zoom link once more.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
It's so impressive. So impressive.
Greatly humbling.